Said early elections in Egypt would not be helpful to the country. European leaders want to see the creation of a broad-based government in Egypt. But in the last few minutes, the US Secretary of State at that conference has warned of a perfect storm in the Middle East if reforms aren't implemented. And one of the most recent lines out of Egypt is this: the gas terminal in Egypt's North Sinai, which has been attacked. The blast setting off a massive fire that could be seen many kilometres away. Terminal supplies gas to regional states. It's not clear how many of the routes, different routes to there, have been damaged. Nicole Johnston's at the Rafah border crossing, which is probably the closest point we can see to that fire. Is that right, Nicole?
That's correct, but at the moment we can't see the fire. Speaking to people here earlier in the morning, they said they were able to see a massive flare across the border, but the gas has since been shut down, so you can no longer see it from the Gazan side of the border.
Tell me about broadly, Nicole, security in the Sinai Peninsula, because it involves so many players: Israel, Egypt and Gaza as well, which is close to that point.
Exactly, and Gaza is sort of intimately linked to the situation in the Sinai, and that is because of the smuggling trade. I just want to point out in the background of this shot, you should be able to see a lot of white tents, and they are smuggling tents. And the Egyptian Bedouin are heavily involved in the Egyptian-Gaza smuggling trade. They're the other half of it, the other side of it. So what goes on in the northern Sinai certainly affects Gaza. But we've been here at the border off and on for the last week, and so we can tell you something of the security situation in the northern Sinai. We've also been speaking to people in Egyptian Rafah and Al Arish, and they say that this security situation there is very unstable. There has been Egyptian policemen attacked and killed over the last week. There's been a lot of attacks on Egyptian security buildings and government buildings. So it's certainly a very unstable situation on the other side. It doesn't get reported as much as Cairo, but a similar situation is occurring there in terms of community groups are getting together and they're trying to protect their homes and their properties, and they're trying to keep the security situation under control as much as they can, because they say the police are inside the police stations, they're being protected by the military, but it's not safe for them to leave because they're being attacked by the Bedouin.
Is there any political thought out of Gaza, Nicole, on what's happening in Egypt? Does the Hamas government there comment openly on what they're seeing?
No, they haven't been commenting openly at all. They've been very careful not to upset any of the political players in Egypt, because the situation in Egypt has great ramifications for Hamas in Gaza. Egypt controls the Rafah border, so if Hamas starts saying something that upsets anybody in Egypt, they won't be allowed out of that Rafah border crossing. But of course, at the moment, anyhow, the crossing is closed. So the most Hamas has said is that it wants stability and security in its neighbour. It did, however, allow this week, at the end of the week, for a anti-Mubarak protest to go underway in Gaza. So that was sort of a sign that they were, starting to show their cards at least, because, the potential rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in any political situation in Egypt has a lot of ramifications for Hamas, which is part of that group.
The View from Gaza on the News Hour with Nicole Johnston. Nicole, thanks for that. Well, demonstrations have been planned right around the world to show support for Egypt's protesters. Saturday being billed as an International Day of Solidarity, and Egyptians have already been rallying in different cities. Brussels, for example, around 200 gathered in front of the European Parliament. Similar numbers took part in Paris and Berlin. In South Africa, unions and rights groups blocked the street in front of Pretoria's Egyptian embassy. In English, Afrikaans, Zulu and Arabic, they shouted out with Mubarak. Well, we spoke to one man who's been coordinating demonstrations in New York City. This is his story in his own words.
I'm an Egyptian-American activist, and we are here to mobilizing a huge rally and march from the Times Square to the Egyptian mission. Everyone from different community coming, the Egyptian-American communities, the activist American community, the Latinos, the African-Americans, everyone's coming because everyone feels that this is like our freedom here. Like the freedom of the Egyptian people is the freedom of us here. I've been calling my cousin in Al-Tahrir Square, and not only me, like either other activists, they've been calling them and encourage them and support them, and their spirit is very high. I mean, there are millions of people in the Tahrir Square, and we told them that we will be with you over here. Same day, same demands for Mubarak to go out.
Today is the day we are organizing for Egypt!
They've been asking us also to demonstrate every day, and we are doing that to support them. And they are, they are hearing us. They are hearing us. They are very, they want us to do more, and because we have to support them in any way and form.
Free, free Egypt! Free, free Egypt! Dear sister and brother, it's not only the Egyptian revolutions, it's everyone's revolutions here. There's two messages. The first one, to support our brother and sister in Egypt and tell them we are with you. And the second message, to tell President Obama and the American government to stop supporting the dictator, stop supporting Mubarak. And we are here as American and as Egyptian giving these two messages.
Yeah, probably the most traditional form of media. They're just getting out on the streets and talking to people. We want to look at new media now, though. Omar Al-Saleh is over at the Egypt desk monitoring what's going on. Omar.
Thanks, Kamal. A lot of online traffic coming out of Egypt's capital. Bloggers, journalists and ordinary people are sending out their updates and messages every minute. Their morale remains high there. Here are some of the most recent updates on Twitter. Mun'am tweets in Arabic telling us of the pipeline explosion that happened over an hour ago. He writes, eyewitnesses say an explosion hits Egypt-Israel gas pipeline in the district of Shala. Flames are reaching sky in Al Arish. And blogger Wa'al Abbas also writes in Arabic, we are the agents, we are the Al Jazeera, KFC and Iran guys. Why Mubarak is listening to our demand then and arresting Ahmed is the good man. And a message from Gigi, the determination of Tahrir protesters is stronger than ever before. I know in my heart Mubarak will step down, the revolution will succeed. And lots of videos are also being sent to us and to different websites as well. Here are some of the recent ones. Protesters at the so-called Day of Departure in Tahrir or Liberation Square last night have turned their anti-Mubarak chants into a song, and playing with a guitar, they sang. Elsewhere in the country, protests too. This video being posted on YouTube in the last few hours. It shows crowds protesting in the northern factory town of Mahalla. We've heard reports of demonstrations there in the last week as well. And this footage from Alexandria, it was sent to us on Friday. And as you can see, a young child, we believe he's 5 years old, and is leading protesters. He's chanting, freedom is born. Mubarak, wake up, this is your last day, and revolution till victory. And we've been getting a lot of images from Egypt through your media site as well. Here's a selection of photos taken in Cairo on Friday. Here a woman holds a banner that reads, what you didn't do in 30 years, you won't do in 3 months, leave. And here a protester wearing Egypt's t-shirt, and a woman, as you can see, carrying what looks like a car plate. She writes, Egypt puts the year 2011. The Arabic letters you see there translate into leave in English. And we are encouraging you, our viewers, to send us more images and videos from Egypt. The address for that is yourmedia.aljazeera.net. And of course, you can get the latest news and analysis on Egypt. You can visit our website. The address is www.aljazeera.net/English. You can also follow our live blog where you can watch the latest videos and get updates throughout the day. That's it for me from now. Back to you, Kamal.
Omar, thank you for that. We're going to look at other news of the day now. And excuse me, a ceasefire has been negotiated by Thailand and Cambodia after heavy fighting on the border. Thai villagers living near the disputed area were evacuated following the heaviest fighting between the countries in 2 years. At least 3 people have been killed in the past 2 days. Cambodia has told the United Nations the situation on the border is, quote, explosive. Myanmar's newly elected parliament has named a retired general as its president. Tan Sen's appointment is the latest step in the country's self-declared transition to democracy. But critics, including the recently freed opposition leader Aung San Suu